Hi, my name is Ian Gillen, and I'm an aspiring writer and also someone who just loves media and creatives. Um, I feel like it's also important to mention that this topic is going to relate to that. For those who have seen basically any media ever, we can all acknowledge that iconic characters exist. But why are they all, for lack of a better word, old? I don't think I can properly say a modern iconic character from the 2020s, whether early or more recent, that wasn't already established. Let's say, for example, Super Mario. New Galaxy movie came out as well as the first movie, the first animated movie. Both of them are Mario and are incredibly popular. Though both of those movies made box office records and are among one of the most popular movies out of the entire 2020s. The problem is that's not new. That's an already established character that it was made in the 80s. So when I think iconic original characters, do we have those? I don't. I saw this video recently that relates to the exact same topic. Why are there no our original iconic characters anymore? Why don't we get the same feeling we get from Darth Vader as we do Kylo Ren, or like just any modern Sith in general for Star Wars fans like me? Why has there never been that same level of fame since the 70s, the 80s? I'd even say the 90s. Once it got to the 2000s, we still got a few, but they really went away when social media started popping off. If you search up Darth Vader and compare it to the search record of Mr. Beast, which was also in this video, the video that I watched, Mr. Beast Mr. Beast peaks 9 times out of 10 compared to Darth Vader. At least in the modern age. The problem is that we've replaced cinema characters with real people. Where we had fictional characters with iconic lines, music, and visuals, designs. We've replaced them with influencers, with content creators, TikTokers, Instagrammers. We get the same level of fame from iShowSpeed as we do of Indiana Jones. Like, and I'm drawing a lot of like inspiration from the video I saw, but the truth is that it exists. This is a real thing. We don't have iconic characters anymore. We can't look at something from the 2020s that's come out of these recent movies and say, hey, I'm probably going to still talk or still remember this character 10 years down the line, or even today when it came out like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Right? Like, we don't have that. We don't have that. And the most recent thing that I could think of is K-pop Demon Hunters, which, again, in that video, he proves very potently that if you ask any kid today, at least 5 years old, who the K-pop Demon Hunters are, they'll tell you all the names. All three of the band members, which, and this isn't a bash towards the movie. I personally really like that movie. Would I say that I'd still talk about it or still remember any of the characters? Probably not. I only remember one, and it's only because I found that her humor was funny. But realistically, it's not like that level of an icon where you could look at that character and say instantly recognizable. Or I don't know, maybe I'm wrong in terms of that example, because I guess I have been seeing like a lot of charms and like off-brand merch from the K-pop Demon Hunters, but I feel like that's more for the new age too. Like if you were to ask any adult or teenager if they have like mega fan merch or instant recognition of one of the K-pop Demon Hunter characters, 9 times out of 10 I'd probably tell you no. Because even when I ask my mom or one of my friends, they can barely remember what any of the characters' names were. So I feel like the other problem too that he didn't exactly he touched on it briefly, but he didn't really go over it as much as I probably would have, which I'm gonna do right now. Streaming services. I feel like streaming services have absolutely killed what it means to have an iconic character because now everything is just there. Like there's nothing to be memorable about if it's just all there. It takes away from the grandiose feeling of a new release. It's just like, oh, it's coming to streaming. I'll watch it when it's there. No point going to the movie theater spending $20. We spend that and more on streaming services every month that we do once, maybe every 3 months. Right? I mean, and a lot of the time it's just stuff we've already seen, which again, it leads to my point. Like these iconic characters they're just there now. There's no spectacle to them because they're just accessible. And I'm not saying that that's exactly a bad thing, but it doesn't make way for new icons. Right? If everyone just has access to it, there's nothing memorable. Right? Because it's not unique anymore. It's just drawing from the same thing that's already existed or just making like a different company retouched version of an existing character. Point about the K-pop Demon Hunters, actually going more over it, it's in the name. It's based off of something that's already popularized, K-pop. They touched on the industry and did it so well and so exact to the point where you can literally put one of the songs from this movie into a catalog of other K-pop songs and artists, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. So it's like there's nothing new anymore. I think that's the main problem here. I think a lot of the reason why we don't have iconic characters anymore is because there's nothing new. There's nothing new about them. And the guy in the video said that their complex, their complexity is probably part of the reason why they're not as iconic, because most iconic characters that we know, Darth Vader, Joker, and probably most other villains and heroes, fit an archetype. An already well-known one, too. But I don't exactly think that's true. Because I could give one example of a character that I think is pretty iconic. Hasn't reached the level of icon where you can go to another country, show them a picture, and be like, hey, can you tell me who this is? For me, I think that's Invincible. I feel like widely throughout the U.S., you can definitely find multiple people who know and recognize the name Invincible. Would I say that that's reached the level of icon? Probably not. You could probably see the suit and be like, hey, I've seen that before in something if you went to another country. But realistically, this character is one of the examples I was trying to touch on for complexity, which he has, for sure. But it's popular enough to say that this character can be iconic. What I think the aspect of an iconic character is, however, it's time. Most of these characters need to be able to resonate. They have to be able to simmer, in other words. you have to give these characters time because Darth Vader, I mean, I wasn't born in the 80s or the 70s, so I really can't say for myself, but I don't think Darth Vader was an immediate hit. I think like people were like, "Whoa, that guy's cool. Wow, that guy's threatening." But they weren't going like, "Wow, I'm going to find out who this character is from like 50 people," because the internet didn't exist back then, so they couldn't search that. But I think a huge part of what makes a character iconic is how well they can survive time. And for me, I don't think a lot of these modern characters can. Simply because of what I said earlier, they take from already existing material. The other part is too that I don't think people make icons out of things that are more relatable. I think the whole point of why fiction is so memorable, why Darth Vader, superheroes, and all these other purely fictional characters have so much of an icon to them, is because they were a little out of reality. Because I think that's what people want. They want an escape from reality. And if they don't get that from a character, if they find to be too relatable to a character, they kind of they come off as regular people. They just come off as normal human people. Even if they could be an alien, but if they have human problems, if they have real problems, and that's like their whole point, I feel like that's part of what makes them uniconic. Like, imagine you see this guy wearing full knight armor, and you think, wow, that guy's cool. I'm going to remember that design for the rest of my life. You go up to talk to them. You find out they're just as normal as any other person. Now you're thinking more about how that person is rather than what that person looks like. What emotion you drew from them. Like, I don't know if my point is exactly making a lot of sense here, but regular people can't be iconic. That's the best way I can say it, I think. Because if you look at all these iconic characters, it's hard. It's hard not to say that because I don't think every regular Joe is just wearing full black armor, choking people out with air or not air, and like just blowing up planets. Right? Because when Darth Vader became popular, he wasn't Anakin yet. He wasn't struggling with his spiritual identity or his moral identity. He was just Darth Vader. Iron Man isn't popular because he struggles with drunkenness or he's like escaping from a problem. When you ask someone about Iron Man, the first thing they'll say is, "Oh, his suit's cool." Or he shoots lasers, or like they go for design. They go for like what they get from them at their peak. They don't think Tony Stark. They don't think the guy with complex. They think this dude in the armor that flies around. The big sacrificial moment. That's what they think. They don't think what led up to that. Only the nerds do that. Only the people who have already built a fandom out of this think that. Right? When a character is iconic, they have to be iconic to everyone, including the people that don't know much about that person. So yeah, I think part of the reason why we don't have iconic characters anymore is one, because of the impact that social media has had. Since everything is so accessible, there doesn't feel like there's anything new. Doesn't feel like there's any impact from these characters because it's just everywhere. Everyone just knows about it. Oh, okay. And I think the second thing is that complex characters just don't relatable. Let me not say complex. Relatable characters don't hit the mark. And I think the best way I can sum it up in one word for why we don't have iconic characters anymore is oversaturation. We've kind of had it all. We've had iconic characters in every medium. How can we make more? Relatable is good. You can keep a person talking about a show. A show can be iconic. A movie can be iconic. But a character specifically, they have to stick out like a sore thumb. It's like you can't find anything too deep about the character in order for you to have that character be iconic. Or they have to fit in. No, but I wouldn't even say an archetype anymore because that's already been done. The chosen one thing has already been like taken over and over and over to the point where we already have those characters filling those spots. What fits anymore? I don't know. That's my take on that, but I don't know. You guys let me know what you guys think. This has been my ramble on iconic characters. If you have a different point or if you can argue anything against that, let me know. I'll be happy to take that into consideration and just have a discussion with you guys. Maybe make another video. I don't know. But I hope you guys enjoyed this little ramble of mine. And I'll see you guys in the next video. I plan on making these probably regularly, depending on like what comes up and if I want to talk about it or not. But if there's anything you guys want me to go over, I'm happy to take a look at it and just ramble about it. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Ian Gillen, and I'll see you soon.